I think I go back to my parents who shaped me the most. And so by the time I came into the Air Force, and by the time the Air Force settled on its core values, integrity, service, and excellence, those were core values that had already been pounded into me by my parents. Not with many lectures, by the way, and occasional spanking, back in the day, but mostly by the evidence of their lives. Both of them were salt of the earth kind of people, and I was brought to church, drugged to church from 9 months before I was born until this very day. And so seeing my parents, they loved each other dearly. They loved the church. They loved the Lord. My dad, he was a floor covering guy, and so he owned a floor covering business for 50 years until about 6 months before he died. My mom was a stay-at-home mother. She was the PTA person. She was the band president. She did all those sorts of things that you would hope a mother would do. And I just had the benefit and the privilege of growing up in a family where I knew I was loved, I knew that God loved me, and I knew that my job was to glorify God and to love my neighbor as myself. So by the time I got to the Air Force, those core values of integrity, service, and excellence were already part of who I was. Not perfectly, as you might imagine, but I at least had great examples in my parents. They made sure that they took me to, in my case, a church where the Bible was preached every Sunday, very forcefully, very specifically. They made sure I was in a youth group and had a Sunday school teacher who shared their values. They made sure that I wasn't comfortable just being a wallflower, but was actually involved in serving other people, even when I didn't want to. But mostly for me, it was just seeing them live their lives in a way. They weren't rich, they weren't famous, but they loved God, loved others, and lived their lives in that way. So I could not have had a better growing up experience than I did.